It's almost like the American people collectively said, do you hear me now?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, welcome to Candid Conversations with CNC, where we talk about everything while keeping it real. I'm Chantel and this is my sister Cherie. And this, you guys, is our very first episode. So I just think we need to give ourselves like a clap for being here, for making it, from going from a thought to actually execution, which is challenging for us, you know, Cherie. So
It is. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. And I'm really curious as to see what's going to unfold over these next few minutes. I was going to say few episodes, but I think I'm just going to say a few minutes.
Yes, you're starting with the minutes. That is smart.
I'm really happy to be doing this with you, Chantel. This is, I mean, there's a part of me that's like, oh, yay. I'm gonna go on this ride with my sister.
Yes.
So.
Yes. I'm happy that you just obediently said yes. So,
yes.
So thank you.
Practicing radical obedience.
Radical obedience. We'll have to talk more about radical obedience. But how are you? How was your day? What have you been doing?
Whew. Well, today was, it started off really lovely and it's ending lovely. And it's been lovely in between, quite frankly.
Okay.
Yeah, Lorenzo and I got up and we went for a walk, got some coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to the market and purchased a stewing fowl. Have you heard of that, Chantel? Do you know what that is?
No, a stewing. Is that like the one that grandma would get, like the special little thing for her chicken and dumplings?
Yes.
Okay.
So I got that because
does it look different than chicken? Like, is it a different?
It's actually pretty big. I was surprised at how big it is. It looks like a chicken, but it's big. And it, to me, it feels like it's a little tougher. You know, like I've been boiling it for hours and the meat hasn't fallen off the bone. But mom, when I told her I had a stewing fowl to make her soup, her chicken noodle soup, she was so excited. She says, oh, I haven't had the taste of a stewing fowl and God knows when, because you guys don't know to use that when you make chicken soup. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But
well,
I'm excited for it. Yeah. And then
it's funny.
Yeah. Then I came home and I had, you know, some client calls, some meetings, and now I'm here with you.
Hey. So your stewing fowl chicken soup explains mom's expression. I will say it wasn't really a comment, it was an expression. I just got off the phone with her before getting on with you, and I was like, Mom, I made the best soup and I'm gonna bring it to you. And it's I said it's a cheddar, and it really is good. It's a broccoli cheddar soup, but it's not real cheddar, you know, it's vegan. And so she was like, I said, it's really good, Mom. So yes, but I'm sure that she's looking forward to her stewed fowl soup. So do you is this the one where the fat boils into the water and then you have to take the fat off and it's all the
I do a whole process. So after I boil the chicken and all of that, then I take it out. I take it out, put it on a cookie sheet with parchment paper, and then I break that chicken down. And then, but I'll put the broth in the refrigerator overnight. And then I take all the fat off because it you know,
congeals, right? Yeah.
Right? And so I skim that, and then I'm left with broth. And then what I do is this can be a bit excessive.
I see you slowing down as if, do I really want to share the excessive?
Right. I know. So then I strain it in a little strainer, right? The broth. Yeah,
Okay.
another pot, right? In
Okay.
a the little strainers, the mesh
Yeah.
strainer.
Yeah.
And then after I do that, I strain it again through cheesecloth.
Okay.
And
Yes. That
that
is
way I'm just getting
all
now
of it out.
just
All of it out.
right.
Yes.
Now I have this beautiful kind of
Dear
clear,
raw.
and then I add I saute the onions
Mm.
and the celery just a little bit with some of the broth,
Mm.
not oil.
Just the broth. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I add the broth, probably a little bit more water, and I'll put all the chicken now. I pulled the chicken off the bone.
Okay.
So all I'm gonna have is delicious
Chicken.
chicken in the broth with the sauteed onions and celery, and then I add the carrots.
Okay.
And
That
it
sounds delicious.
it is so good.
Mm.
And and I always add a little bit of turmeric, especially if it's supposed to be a soup that heals, a little bit of
Yeah.
turmeric. You have all your normal seasons for chicken soup, and then I always squeeze some lemon in there.
Mm. I love lemon.
Yeah.
I put lemon in like everything. I love lemon.
So
That sounds really
good.
good. Well, she is in for a treat for sure. For
Mhm.
sure. So that seems labor intensive.
It
Um,
feels like it feels like it, but it's not, you
but
know?
that's good. That's good. So you had a lovely day of meetings, coffee walks, and making stewed fowl
Yes. Making chicken soup with a
chicken
stew.
stew with a stew fowl. That's like very like Martha Stewardess, like or like like
Well,
like Chef
yeah,
Gordon Ramsay
a,
with
a
his
stew fowl versus
stew
the
fowl.
fried chicken
Yeah,
versus the roaster. Yeah, I mean, I typically just would use whatever chicken I can get. But today, because it was for mom, I was like, I'm gonna
yeah,
cook a
the real
stew.
thing. The real thing. I know she will appreciate that. All
Yeah,
of the love that went in that pot.
yeah, yeah.
Well, let's see. My day was I woke up at 5:45 this morning,
Oh
and
wow.
I heard Dad's saying unask those sheets. Like I literally have to be that forceful and for me to get up because it's dark outside and it's
Yeah.
warm in my bed, but it's cool outside. But I got up and I hopped up, and right next to my bed, I have my workout clothes.
Oh, good.
Put on my workout clothes, and I did Leela's little warm up
Oh yeah.
that I did the other day, like little
Very
warm
fun.
up, and then I do my walk away pounds. I did a boosted 3 mile walk, which was great. And that was good while watching, I like watch the news. So that my treat is if I'm working out, then I can watch the news. So it's kind of like atomic habits, like the
Yeah.
carrot is the news. So now I've told myself the only way I get to watch my news or listen to anything is if I'm working out in the morning. So that has really helped me do that. But by the afternoon, I'm exhausted. Like I feel like, I'm tired. So I have to, yeah, I don't know. And then I'm just wanting like sugar or something to keep me up. So that was like a struggle. But it was good. And I also did cooking today. I made my cheddar broccoli soup.
Which I know is delicious
It's
because
really good.
you are an
It's
excellent vegan
so
cook.
good. It's so good. And then I made fried rice for the girls for their dinner. And I made homemade pasta sauce
Mm.
because I've been enjoying eating broccoli. So you know how they have the broccoli in the bags?
Yeah.
Because I'm also like the quickest way I can feed. So I'll
Right.
take the broccoli in the bags, I'll steam it, and I'll just have broccoli and I put pasta sauce over it.
Ooh, that sounds good.
And it's so good.
I
Instead of
love pasta
pasta
sauce.
noodles, it really is very good. So I
Right.
made a batch of tomato sauce, and that was really good. So I've been cooking, all day and in between work calls and stuff like that. So yes. And like we have neighbors that are moving next door. So also like trying to see, like, get a vibe of like who's moving in next door. So I'm gonna like pop over and say hello tomorrow. But yeah, that's what's been happening.
Well,
You
that
know?
sounds like a lot of fun, Shawnee.
Yes, yes. The kitchen is a wreck with all the cooking. Because I don't
Yeah.
really clean as I go.
Mm.
Kind of I'm not like you, Cherie. I know that.
I can't stand I don't stand it. My dishwasher went after I was did my little like I like it all, and then when I go back in there to do my second part, it's all very nice and clean.
Yeah, I don't have that gift. It's kind of like if I'm making something with carrots, you see carrot all over. Carrot, carrot on it. Like it's everywhere.
How
It's
does that
every
happen? What do you do?
I would say maybe I'm passionate, but that would be an excuse. I think that it's because I don't know. I'm not organized. That's the problem. Like you probably are like, I'm gonna make chicken soup, and I thought about what I need.
Right.
I am at the whim of a moment. Oh, and then
Oh,
I'm never just making one thing because economically I don't have the time. So then I'm like,
right.
yeah, I'm gonna make the broccoli soup. Oh, I'm gonna make fried rice. Oh, I'm gonna make tomato. Like it all comes. So now it's chaos. It's chaos going, and the family gets scared in these moments because they don't kind of know what to do.
To clean up after you, or do you clean up
Do they
after you?
clean up? They do. I mean, I do clean.
Well,
I try to clean.
now we understand what's happening. What if Shawnee had to clean up after herself and
Right, right.
it would motivate you? Because see, there's
It
no one here to clean up after me.
it it probably it probably would.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we're gonna move on to another topic.
I'll be circling back around with my
Circle
nieces.
back with that. Yes. Like they have a lot like up here. It's just, but I do feel like I've done the hard lift of the cooking.
No, 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 no. Let me just, cause see, Dad used to do this. And I was at the point where I'd rather starve than have to clean the kitchen up after me.
Yes,
Like that's
I'm
the
like
point.
dad and his cooking. That's
Yes,
how that's how
yes.
it is with me.
That is
I'm
the
impressed with the mess that I make. I'm
and
like, damn,
then he's like, "Ooh,
it is exhausting. And then I won't maybe cook for a couple more days because
right,
I've done myself. I've outdone it in the
right,
so I think like I think what would help me is if I had more of a plan. You
yeah."
know, I need to have a plan
Mhm,
about like what I'm gonna cook.
mhm.
And then in the middle of my cooking,
Oh
because
gosh.
I also leave. I do. I do. I because it's not planned. So I'm like, oh, I have to jump on a call. Or
Oh
today,
my
another
God.
call. I, you know, I was like, my mother's heart was like, oh, I need to spend some one-on-one time with my youngest because I had one-on-one time with the oldest and the middle. So let me get time with the youngest. And but stuff was still on the stove. So we went to Starbucks, and then we went to this
Things on
delicious
this.
little place called
Chantel, wait a minute, back up.
Crumble.
You left things on the stove when you went to Starbucks. I
I
was just
did.
when you said you had to spend time with the little one, you were gonna go maybe down in the basement, do something, go up to her
No,
room. So
no,
like there's so many places you could go in your
no.
home.
I needed out of the house because I was also escaping the
So
mess. that I
We,
made.
so who was left? Who else was cooking then
So
today?
the other kids were here, but they were also on calls, like, and Kyrie was on a call. So there was no one that was really manning the stove. I will say that was, and that happens because it's not, I need to just get planned and organized with not only
Okay.
when I'm cooking, but when I can completely cook a thing and not cook like this and that and this and that. I think that that would help me to cook like you, where it's beautiful and it's organized and it's all clean. And also, your adverb was lovely, and mine was like chaotic. And
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
Thanks. But we did go to this cookie place that I cannot make a habit, called Crumble. Have you been to a Crumble before?
I have never been, nor do I need to go.
Ooh. Mm,
I am devoted this year
mm,
to two sets of numbers,
mm,
my personal numbers that relate to
mm-hmm,
my body
mm-hmm,
and my financial numbers.
mm-hmm.
Those numbers, so I don't need to know about
You don't
crumble
need to know about Crumble.
at the
Yeah.
number uh,
Yes.
that I need to be at, which when I was first presented that number as an opportunity for me,
Yes.
I thought that that was not a realistic number because of my age and my, all the things, my
Right.
culture, you throw it
Right.
in.
Right.
But now I'm older and I have gotten a little bit more wisdom and knowledge and understanding and data. And I realize, oh, my culture doesn't really have anything to do. I just need to be a certain number to be healthy.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Crumble
Well,
is not in my future until I hit my number. And then I need to ask myself,
no, you don't want Crumble. You won't
I don't
want
want crumble because
Crumble.
crumble got,
Crumble will crumble. It will
exactly.
crumble.
I'm
Yes. Yes. It was it yes. Yes. I have not tasted the crumble cookie. It's in my house right over there.
yeah.
Um, but this is she wanted the crumble cookie, so we brought the crumble cookies back, and they're very expensive. For
Oh.
four cookies, I paid $22. Isn't that expensive? Is that expensive? That's expensive, right?
Outrageous for four
Okay.
cookies.
I'm thinking like, okay,
No eggs, whatever, sugar, flavor, like you can make a couple dozen cookies.
I'm thinking, I was like, wait, what? How much are, because
That
yeah.
I
So
know
so that
take a
alone,
picture of that
crumble won't
cookie.
be, I'm like, that's
Picture of
ridiculous.
that cookie. Take a picture of that cookie because
I,
I'd be
I
interested.
will take a picture of the crumble cookie. I think that they're a chain. Now the girls have the churro crumble cookie.
And I would say, if I don't know if this our conversation is gonna be um put up, like people will be able to see us. I don't know. I'm
That's
just
the whole point of like,
okay. All
oh
right.
my,
I didn't know.
oh, like, did she? Okay,
I
okay.
didn't know. I didn't know.
You have to go real slow with this one. Yes, Cherie. Like,
I didn't
yes,
know, like it's in the cloud and so they'll get our voice. But if they're gonna see us or if there's a capacity to see pictures, I would
yes,
like you to do any future listeners that if we're blessed with someone who
yes,
would tune in, let's show them a picture of 20
yes,
something dollar cookies.
yes.
Of
I will
course,
show the last cookie
thank
that's
you
in
very
that
much.
box,
Yeah, because
and they can imagine four of those.
that's
You
just
will have to send me a picture of your soup.
oh, I will. Oh, I
Oh,
will.
oh, I will. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you will. Oh, okay. I'm writing that down on the
Yeah. In our show notes, is that what it's called? showing
Yes, look at you. Yes.
in the lingo. It's just because I'm such a consumer of the
And the
podcasts
crumble
that are
cookie.
on the
Yes.
Zoom. Yeah.
Yes.
I really
It's
like
it's
it when I
it's
see people.
I will do that. I will do that. It is something. Now, the one that I did get that I have not tasted yet, that I am splitting with Kyrie tonight as we watch after this the second episode of Cross. Have you? Okay, we'll have to talk about
Is that
that.
scary? Is that
No,
scary?
Shirley, it's not. Gosh,
'Cause
is it scary? Is it? No.
no, but I was just like, sometimes is it gotta go like Luther? Because you know how Luther went sideways.
Oh, Luther was a whole different
That
feel.
just got me a little.
Luther
I
was
can't hang with Luther. I
Luther
love
was
Jesus.
Luther was lurky dark. It
Yes,
was very dark, but it was also Idris, and so I'm here for it.
I know. I love
Like,
Idris. Like I was trying to hang with him. I really
but
was.
but it
But
was dark.
and then
This one isn't.
the
This one
people
is
were so
not. This one is not dark. This
okay.
one is, I would say, well, first of all, James Patterson's Cross series.
Yeah.
I, it's that those that's like, so my light like summer read. I read like that type of stuff.
Yeah. I
And
mean, I like
actually,
James
they just
Patterson.
came out with, and what's fun to read it is because it's set in DC, so that's fun.
Okay. Okay.
And then they have, for those of you all out there that have kids, like middle school age kids, they came out with, I think like a couple years ago, a junior Cross. So Cross is the main character. He's a detective, a black detective in DC. And then the junior kind of series is his son, who's kind of like following in the footsteps of his dad, but it's like figuring out stuff that's going on in school in the neighborhood and things of that nature. So I read that with Lourdes. And so other people, like, I think that Tyler Perry has done a Cross. I didn't watch it because I just couldn't imagine. I couldn't do the mental leap. Okay. So that is not this. This one is on, is it Paramount? No. What's the other one where we shop? Amazon Prime. So this is on Amazon Prime. It dropped November 14th. And so we watched the first episode last night. And it's really good. It's a typical serial, like, cop detective story. It's not gruesome because
Yeah.
I don't like I don't like it where it's gruesome, but it's also not like dark, and it's not dark. It's
Okay.
not.
Okay. I'll try it again.
Appreciate one of the things that I think thus far, I'm only one episode in, but one of the things that I appreciate about the show thus far, I appreciate the writing, which normally is a struggle for me, because it feels very real and authentic to the culture. Like just the flow, the cadence, the way it feels very authentic. And so yeah, so I was appreciating.
Spencer and I will probably watch an episode of it
Yeah,
tonight.
watch it.
Because
So
I
this
just want to
this
be, like frightened.
you're not going to be frightened. It's more kind of like, what's happening? You're going to
Okay.
be like trying to figure it out. Like,
Okay, it's not like how you can have some shows with serial killers and it's so that you're afraid to go outside, like
no, it's no one like eating human people. Like
yeah, like Silence of the Lambs type of
it's not like that. It's not like
okay,
that. It's a
okay,
very, I was going to say safe. I mean, it is talking about like solving crimes, but
okay,
in the solving of the crimes, you're really like seeing this person's life and
okay,
community.
okay.
Oh, yes.
All right, I'll watch it.
And
Thanks.
it's
'Cause
fun.
I want to watch it. I mean, the
It's
guy
fun.
playing
It has
the
the other
brother
thing,
is
there's a
good
lot
looking.
of like new actors in this cast that at least are new, like meaning that they're not, they're new, they're emerging. And it
Yeah,
also feels good to support you
Yeah.
know,
I
work.
will watch it then, for
Yes,
sure, for
yes,
sure.
cross,
Yeah. 'Cause,
definitely
I do need something that's gonna,
take
uh,
on reality.
yes, for the next,
Yes.
which gets me to, when can we talk about what we're
We can
curious about?
talk about, yes, bring it.
Okay.
Yes.
So I am, gosh, I have, I'm still at the election piece. I'm still
Yes.
processing. And I have so many curiosities around it. And I guess based on the Native Land podcast,
Yes. The
welcome
mini
home.
pod after their longer pod.
Right.
Yes.
It just raised up again some curiosities around how the campaign
Yes.
unfolded. And the conversation, and you listen to it too, so you help make sure I capture it for our listeners, where my curiosity
Hmm.
is rooted in. There was the it 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 seemed that Angela Rye, is it Rye,
Yes.
and Tiffany, they had friends in the campaign, and they were able to, kind of, I guess, through conversations with people in the campaign and even their own experience of the campaign,
Hmm.
um, kind of discovered that persons, um, who were closer to the ground were not being listened to, and perhaps even the right soldiers weren't put out in the right spaces.
Hmm.
That money was not, that they mentioned something as very, very practical, like getting signs. And I noticed too that there were not a lot of Kamala signs when we would go to different places. I noticed that, but I thought, well, maybe I'm in Trump territory, or maybe I didn't know, I didn't really understand it. I do know, even when I went to an event where I did some volunteer work, there weren't a lot of signs. They had some signs to pass out, but an event that had us in one evening get out 8,000 letters to people in Pennsylvania, you would have thought everyone would have been able to walk out of that event, and it was about 200 of us, with a lawn sign.
Right.
We could not. They did not. They ran out.
Wow.
And that was interesting to me. Um, and so in listening to the podcast, to the Native Land podcast, she also mentioned how the money went to your top tier, consultants, that there was not a lot of investment in consultants of color who were closer to
Color.
the
Yep.
ground, could really motivate their base. There were not, I guess, Hispanic people speaking to Hispanic people. And it just seems to me like just some basics, in terms of an on the ground capacity to get out the vote, did not happen. And yet in other conversations I hear, well, they had an amazing ground game. So I'm just curious, what happened? Like, what do you make of that? I mean, what do you?
Hmm. Yeah, I think I shared that one with you,
Yeah,
um, because so it was something that they mentioned in their longer podcast. They referenced it, but they didn't get into it in that one. And so I was so happy that they did a shorter podcast that really kind of allowed us into their thinking, um, and their feeling behind what it is that, at least from their perspective, that they experience themselves, and also, as you said, through friends that were staff. Because these, I took it as people that were on staff, people that were in the actual campaign,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like people outside.
Right,
That there are
exactly.
people inside the campaign, and it seems like their voice was not listened to, and the ways in which they could contribute was stunted. That there
Mhm.
was this right way, and that was the way that happened. And also something that was interesting, I don't know if you picked up on it. I think Tiffany said, or I think it was Angela, was like, the real people who benefit are these, consulting firms that just popped up, you know? So it also was like, wait, so I think that there was trust and money that was channeled to entities or into persons who were outside of culture, or that was dominantly white from, I think, their perspective. And
Mhm.
I don't even know if that so much is the issue as is the issue of it seems to be a contingent of that was not listening, that
Right.
wasn't listening, regardless of race, that
Right.
wasn't listening, that there was like a pushing away, or not listening, or not taking into account, not being able to take any wisdom or advice, not leaning on and leveraging, not saying, okay, what do you need? You know how to talk to your people. You know how to talk to your people. It didn't seem like the talking to and their strategy was varied and diverse. What I kind of walked away was that the way in which that the strategy is we're talking to everybody kind of all the same. And because they didn't leverage and really lean into those people that were on staff that were working with them to really say, I really need you. What do you need really to talk to your people? And your strategy might be different, right, from this group strategy from over here. And it just seems like, based on what they said or what they shared, that wasn't the case. And I've heard that in different, like, this was one. I've heard it from other people that were in closer to the campaign staff, and they also made a point to say, so I want to make this point because they really did stress this point. So I think it's important that they did not lay that at the feet of Kamala.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I think that is very important. And I'm glad they did say it, because you would have to wonder. I would have wondered,
Yeah,
well, what happened?
because that's what I was thinking when I was listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other, and the thing that you said about the listening piece leads me to my second, and then I'll, because I think we're on the same page. Curiosity is, will the Democratic Party listen?
Mm-hmm.
Because this inability, it seems, to listen, I actually am very curious as to what is blocking the hearing of the Democratic Party. And I would take it back to 2016, but okay, let's say we said 26, we were all kind of shocked that this guy, that Trump was
Right.
able to win. But did they listen when you look at what,
Mhm.
like, is the Democratic Party able to listen and learn?
Mhm.
Like, what is it? It seems like there was a lack of humility and not listening to people who were working for you on the ground in the campaign. And now, as we step back, no matter how you cut it, this was a colossal fail.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
And people are going to suffer as a result of it, because I do not for a moment believe we have leadership in the White House. I'm not gonna go and use words like fascist and saving democracy. I think that's part of the problem. Um, because these words are almost don't hold water. People don't know what are you talking about? But we certainly have someone who we all know what self-centered is. We all have an idea of a person who is mean,
Mm-hmm.
a liar, um, someone who abuses women,
Yes.
a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is who we have entrusted the Oval Office to. And so I don't actually blame the wolf.
Right.
The wolf was doing what the wolf is going to do.
Supposed to. Right.
But I'm kind of like, what happened to the watchmen on the wall? What and the men and women on the who are supposed to be looking out, who are supposed to be able
Mm-hmm.
to put forth, to listen and learn, to see people, to hear people, and put forth a winning strategy,
Mm-hmm.
which again, Kamala did everything that she could do in 107 days. I don't think that woman needs to walk around with her head down or anything. I pray for her every evening because
Yeah.
I can't imagine being, you know, she rose to the occasion that was set. But I am curious, are the Democrats paying attention? It's almost like the American people collectively said, do you hear me now?
Yes. Whew. Well, um, I'm still listening. I know we are listening. We're sending stuff to each other daily. And but I think the answer obviously to 2016, no, there was no listening, no humility, no curiosity, and so there was no pivots.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't see evidence yet, and yet is my hopeful little word, where Democratic leaders are listening.
Mhm.
What I do see happening, I do see Democrats
Mhm. Mm.
listening.
Yeah. AOC being one.
Yes,
She's out here listening.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's listening. And I do see, like in my conversations with just regular folks,
Mhm.
I do see that people are like, something happens, this happens, why did it happen? What did we miss? And really trying to lean into that and with in a posture of receiving and listening and also acknowledging like, yeah, yep, wow, we are elite. Yep. Like that's kind of some of the conversations that I've been having with people, and I've been finding that hopeful, and it hasn't just been wagging the finger at the other party. It hasn't just been name calling. It hasn't been dismissive. It's been filled with wonder and awe of the most like kind of
I
ridiculous
was thinking it's a different kind of wonder and awe.
kind of wonder and awe. And I think we're all like just kind of like, you know, wanting to help to figure it out. And when I say all, I'm not talking about all. I'm talking about like those conversations that I've been able to
But this
have.
is
Um,
this is my concern actually.
mhm.
You're listening, you're questioning, maybe many of us, but I'm wondering the leadership of the
Oh no,
party.
I don't. This is what I'm saying. I don't have any evidence that they are. I don't know if we have actually, or the leadership, if they've actually learned the lesson. I don't know what are we standing for. If we said, if this was so wrong and so dangerous and so right, even in the passing on of power, that is what we should do. I have issues with, some of the stuff that's happened, with some of the pomp and circumstance and regalia that was not warranted, but that did happen. And I think okay, I'm not going to get emotional here. So there it goes. But I think the very fact that, because I don't believe I'm alone, that that people have feelings about, Trump being in the White House for coffee. I think it was it this week, last week? I think that is a demonstration of not listening to. And we can't forge ahead in the same way in which we have. Here's the Democrats' fault to me. It's like y'all have like one playbook. And as smart and intelligent and elite and educated as this party is and is known to be and claims to be, and it is very well degreed, right? It's just like, dag, y'all just have like one play. And you keep doing that same play over and over again. And it's not winning. It's not a winning strategy. It's not a winning strategy, because the winning strategy, in my opinion, cannot come from the Democratic leaders. The winning strategy actually will have to come from the people. And when I say the people, I'm not just talking about Democrats. I'm talking about listening to a wider thing of the people.
Well, even if you want to take care of your base, the Democrats stopped listening to the fullness of their base.
Yeah.
David Brooks actually did a podcast, and he and wrote an article, I think, on how Ivy Leagues are, I guess, ruining America, and we can even include the article maybe, or put a
Yep.
link. But the Democrat elite leadership all have the same groupthink. They all probably have gone to the same, 3 to 5 Ivy Leagues. They all have, so all of their ideas are coming from one kind of experience.
Right.
And they do not allow persons with wider experiences or different experiences access to the table where thinking happens, brainstorming happens, decision making happens. It's almost if you haven't jumped through these, 5 hoops, you don't get invited to the table. And so they are limited in terms of their ability to relate to a multitude of American experiences. And they don't recognize it.
Right.
Okay, so that's a little bit of they're almost like nose blind. They don't even know that they're missing people. They don't even know that.
Right.
And then they did not really take care of the heart of their base. With that, when you reference that tea or whatever that was at the White House. And I know when I saw it, and I'm a pretty, we live in Washington, we live in this DMV area. We're used to politics. I worked in government. I understand the protocol, ceremonies, and all of these things. And then I also understand when protocol ceremonies are used. They go, we're not going to do this thing because you actually don't deserve it, And I feel like Biden did not have to have President-elect Trump in the White House. He had already been in the White House 2016. He knew so you're not actually introducing him to anything.
Right.
The wife didn't even show up. Okay. So and they knew she wasn't going to show up. That's not a last minute decision. So even at that point, they could have made another decision when they found out she wasn't coming. And and then they have the cameras on. That little T or whatever it was not necessary for the peaceful transfer of power.
Mhm.
That was a tradition that we could have all been the base, which
Right.
they did not know how to get. What I've heard, 10 million, 15 million, 17 million. They did not know how to get at least 10 million off of the sofa to the voting pool. So you're further insulting your base by having that. And I was, part of the explanation for it was, oh, he wanted to show the American people stability. Well, the people who voted for Trump already were feeling stable. They didn't need to see
Right.
that.
Right.
They're feeling pretty fine.
Very stable.
I think they're good. And so you're left with your base
Mhm.
who did not need to see that, okay, at all. And it wasn't until tonight that I spoke with a relative who said who was totally against that, who had problems with that scene as well. And a relative who did not vote for did not vote for him, but also did not vote for her. And whereas at one point I would have been like,
Right.
now I'm curious, talk to me. But this relative actually gave me a reason for that tea that made sense to me. It may not be true,
Mm. I'm interested now.
but it gave me, he said, you know, um, I believe that Biden is trying to make sure Hunter doesn't go to jail and that they don't come for him.
Honestly.
And while this may not be true,
Yes. Yes.
I was like, you're giving
Huh.
me pause
You've given
now
me something
because
to
I could
think
not
about. Yeah.
understand the need to have
Right.
laid out such a welcome
Such a warm welcome. Like, wasn't it like welcome back? Like,
man with the cameras.
yes.
And this relative said, if you watch it again and look at the body language, because everybody knows that President-elect Trump is very susceptible to flattery, to, you tell.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was, he said, our relative said he was at the edge of his seat, almost leaning into whatever words were spilling out of
Mhm.
Biden's mouth, almost like, yes, because it's validation for him.
Yes.
He's seeing it as validation. But but when he was like the possible motive, because it's
Mhm.
like there is no motive. If you really believe
Right.
that someone is a fascist, someone is not good for democracy, someone is going to do harm to the nation that
Right.
you love,
That's
you are
right.
not welcoming them to the White House. You are not trying to communicate, well, this is just the normal thing. You're just
Right.
not doing that. But if you have a self-serving interest, you
You just
might. And
yeah.
I didn't think of that. And this relative said what struck them was the raging, blazing fire. And the fire, he's like, just look at it metaphorically. This raging fire behind them in the fireplace. Like, does the White House even have heat? I mean, the fire was so beautifully raging. And you're
Right.
also seeing this guy metaphorically, it's getting ready to burn up
Yeah. Yeah.
all the norms of what makes our society function,
Function.
what
Hmm.
makes government function.
Hmm. Yeah.
And he is being welcome like it's normal. Like he's like we did not just go through some kind of a crazy election. Like this person broke every type
Oh,
of decor and just of integrity. No integrity, no humility, no competency.
right.
None of that is needed. We're saying, nope, we don't need integrity. Nope, we don't need humility. Nope, we don't need any competency. And whereas before in the first White House under this
Right.
guy, there were at least some people there who you were like,
That's
well,
right.
he's not, I don't trust him, but at least some of the people around him I know have led and have had, have had to have responsibility. And I know even if I don't agree with all of their policies, they care for our country.
Yeah.
They're not just going to be self-serving. So I know I've kind of rambled, but I just want I got finally an answer to why that tea happened.
I'm glad that you
Like,
got that, and I'm glad that he shared that.
yeah.
And I can tell you, I never thought about that, but hearing it, I'm like, huh, because it is a little curiosity. It is curious. And
And he shared it because I didn't demonize him when he said he
yes,
didn't vote for her. So he kept talking. He was like,
yes,
I don't, but this is why I didn't vote for him. This is why I didn't vote for her. And he was, and I couldn't put him in a box of you just wanted to. He was like, no, this guy is horrible for our country. As a person who was in the military, I'm very concerned that we have no guardrails to keep the United States military from being used against the citizens of the
that's right.
United
That's
States.
right. That's right.
So, so it's not like this is a person who was, oh yeah, So as he kept talking, I said, "Oh, you've shared a perspective I wouldn't have thought about in a million years."
And I think that that's the thing I think um, that we need to do and encourage others to do, to model to do. Maybe there's like some, if we can, this is unscripted, y'all. So, but if there's like a few, maybe very practical tips that you can share, I'll try and think of some too, to really not do what you said. I wrote it down that the Democratic Party and the elitism that they have this group think basically, and they
Yeah.
don't they're not good at inviting other people to the table at an equitable table too,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's like this qualified, and when you were saying that, it made me think about what might have happened to those staffers that weren't listened to. It's
Right.
like this thing that happens when people are discounted or disqualified, or their thoughts, opinions, experiences, wisdom is considered less than, right?
Mhm.
We don't
Mhm.
benefit. And so I think that it's a real challenge. One, I think we do need to talk across the table, um, and that we need to fight, like, not to be dismissive, but to be actually inviting and curious, and to stay engaged when you hear crazy, or when you just hear something that's like, outlandish. So what are some tips that you have to do, like, especially when you find yourself, because I think people are afraid to have those conversations because they're afraid of their response in them, how they will respond, in the conversations, and what that might potentially do to the relationship.
Right.
Right. And we are in a cancel culture, either you're canceled, or I know you think differently. I'm not canceling you. We just agree not to talk about it. So it's
Right.
not something we don't talk about. And I think one of the things that has put us in this situation, and it's not a concrete reason, but it's one of those intangible, like abstract reasons, is that we are not talking. We haven't been talking to each other, across the tables. We haven't been dialoguing together. That hasn't been leading to reasoning with one another. It has just either been cancel, or because I love you and I know you're over here and I'm over here, we're just going to agree not to talk about it. And no one grows, no one stretched. We're not benefited from that. And I do think that we need to do more of that. I know that you and I probably have always been doing that throughout this time, but I know many people that have not been doing that. And I also am hearing where now people are like, I'm out, I'm not doing it, like for real. Like it's like people are even retreating more to that position. And I think that is an unwise place
Yeah.
for us to be. So,
Right.
any practical tips that you can think of to have this conversation? How to start? How do you initiate it? And how do you stay, um, how do you stay open and curious and respectful? How do you stay honoring and respectful, especially when someone is sharing views, thoughts, and opinions that make you crazy, or that you just really don't agree with?
That's a very good question. Um, so this is so I tried to do a dialogue group at our
Yeah.
church.
Explain that a little bit. Just
So
I know
so
what it is, but
so
give.
we go to we attend I don't even know if it's that well back then how diverse it was,
Yeah.
but a space where um
We were
what
the minorities.
we were the minorities, and there was a space where and there was a lot of probably what is it?
Libertarian.
Libertarians and Republicans and a few
Yes.
Democrats, but
Right.
it's a church in DC, and so this is kind of a purplish area, so kind of people know how to behave. So what we weren't really having conversations, and I was trying to get us ready for, I guess, I don't know, was it the
I
2016?
think
No,
it
it
was
was no, because it was near 2020. Oh,
2020.
coming up on the 2020 elections.
The 2020 election.
And I was a little concerned. I was like, oh gosh, we've lived through 2016. We're in the middle of this election. Let's figure out how to dialogue to maintain unity, which unity doesn't require uniformity. And but then, so we tried, and then COVID happened and
Right.
the group disbanded. And I think some of our conversations, we were really going to get into the Black Lives Matter type of thing. But the advice I gave, and it's the advice I take, do not show up for any conversation that has the potential to be challenging, where you're going to have to um, be restrained so that you can listen. And I'll talk about listening in a minute. Without first sitting with yourself, affirming your values, and really not just saying, I believe in humility, I believe in integrity, I believe in listening, I believe in respecting the other person, without knowing what those words mean for you.
Mhm.
Sit with yourself and really know that you are whole,
Yeah.
You are complete. You do not have to, you're not looking for someone to agree or believe you're not requiring that you're really showing up as a whole person, not in need of approval, not in need of everyone agreeing with you, just saying I want to listen and I want to learn, right? And that means, just making sure you're rested. So, and that's any conversation. That's a conversation with your best friend if there's a conflict. That's a conversation for those of us who are married, your partner, your teenage kids, whomever. Um, don't show up to that conversation not clothed in your own sense of self, like, and not clothed with, wait a minute, these are my values. So when a person who's sitting across from me behaves in a way that is not in concert with my values, I'm not going to respond likewise. I actually will. I remember being in a conversation with someone and they were just misbehaving. And I just was like, hey, I'm at a competitive disadvantage in this conversation because you're unrestrained and you have a capacity to behave in ways that's disrespectful. It lacks any type of intellectual integrity and you're a bit dishonest. So I don't function like that. So that puts me at a competitive disadvantage. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to have that conversation with you right now. So that's how to handle when someone's just crazy.
Right.
But when someone's not crazy, but they just voted for Trump,
Right.
I did this too, but I had to make sure I was good. So this is why I'm saying sit with yourself first. The first step is make sure you're okay and have the wherewithal to hear something that you fundamentally do not agree with. But you're not going to impugn that person and act like they are not a human being with the right to think the way they think. And I'm not going to go for the low-hanging fruit because in this nation, most people are racist. Some form of it flows in us or
Right.
bias.
Right.
And men and women have been taught to be misogynistic and sexist. So
Right.
that's kind of low hanging fruit. I'm just like, where are you on the spectrum?
Right.
So in another instance, I took a walk with someone because I really was curious. Why did you vote for Trump? This was a member of our church who I knew and was not an evil person.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, you have a reason. I was curious
Right.
and I heard it, some of it. I was like, okay, I get that. I don't agree, but I get it.
Mhm.
And then some of it, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to understand this. I have some thoughts about maybe you're not able to be as honest with yourself, but that's fine.
Right.
But that allows for continued dialogue, but I'm well enough to do it. I'm not really needing validation or all of that agreement or all, it's just so for me the first step is really make sure you're rested, make sure you're not hungry, make sure you're not coming with any anger. I mean, these are like real basics.
Right. Real basic things.
These are like, make sure you're called to have that conversation because you may not be.
Mhm.
Um, those are like some things,
Those are good things.
and then when you sit in the seat of listening, if you've asked someone something
Mhm.
and they're willing to share it with you, what they really think, listen with curiosity and suspend the judgment,
Yes. Yeah. Those are really good things.
you know.
And they're challenging things because I think that we don't get enough practice. People don't get enough practice with that. So it is challenging. But I wholeheartedly agree, like with everything. I'm in reflecting with conversations that I've had. Um, I think the only thing I would add to that is, um, so the conversations that I've had with people that I know, uh, some of them I knew, like, voted for Trump.
Mhm.
Some of them I didn't know. So like one I was like really shocked, that did. But a way that I have started, I would say be invitational. So when you've done all that, like invite um, them into a safe space with you. And so I say things like, one, I always start with who they are to me, which is my friend. I'm having conversations not with people I don't know, but
Exactly.
people I do know. And so
Exactly.
I see them bigger. I
Right.
have a bigger affection. I
Right.
have memories and fondness. I have stories of how they showed up for me or made me feel good in other areas. And I think it's important to hold all of that in mind, the bigger them,
Right.
and not distill them down to this, to
Well,
this.
it's reductionist. What you're
And,
saying is I'm
right.
not going to reduce you
I'm not
to
going to reduce you. And I think that that is so important. And I believe in my heart that people feel it. I,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe that they feel it. And so, a way that I've kind of initiated conversation is, I just am like, hey, I'm processing this. Can I process this? Will you help me process this? I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious to know. I want to learn, like sitting in the seat. And I think language like that sets a table, sets the tone at the table. That is open, that's welcoming, and all of that. But you can't do that with what you said if you aren't rested, if you aren't ready. You can't do that. And then the other thing I do when I hear something, so I've heard like that, I'm trying to be mindful of my facial expressions within conversations. So,
Yeah.
and I've heard some things that are just so
Right.
crazy, just
Mhm.
so crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And it helps me to brace myself, or like, I have to have a way of like, really, like, yes, this is crazy, but I don't want it to show up on my face.
Yeah.
I still want to keep the conversation going. And I don't necessarily want to stop them because, now they're looking at a Chantel with a face on me. I want to keep that flow going. So what I do is I usually just like pinch myself, or I apply a little pressure to just like, oh, I'm hearing something a little crazy. I feel it. And it just helps me, as I feel it's like what I do when I have to get a shot. I just to kind of like, I don't know, prepare, brace, or distract myself, whatever. I do that so that I can stay facially and mentally open and not let the crazy just, take over. Like that's something that I do that has works for me. Um, when I've heard something that was really challenging to hear. And also, it caught me off guard. That's
Mhm.
really because I've heard a lot of stuff. So I'm like, okay, I might hear this and I might hear that. And I might
Mhm.
hear this and I might hear that. But when I
Yeah.
hear the thing that really just catches me off guard,
You're
you
like,
I don't want to pounce. I'm like trying to, keep it open, and I want to hear more about that. But that's
that's
just,
being
something.
restrained.
That's right, because restraint, for you all will get to know me, is something that I am growing in and constantly working on. So when I heard, for example,
Yeah.
that oh, how is it? Trump has been anointed and appointed. Guess you would need to be both of those A's. Trump has been anointed and appointed by God to prepare the way for the second coming of Christ.
Yeah, I've heard that now.
I hadn't heard that like before. That one took me, that one kind of threw me off guard. I was caught off guard. So yeah, I just little pinch myself, almost like, is this for real? Like, am I dreaming or this is for real? No, this is something that's really said. Okay, let's engage it. I think that that's what it does for me. Like, okay, let's engage it. And the other thing, which I think you were getting to in your tip, that has been truly helpful. I'm not responsible.
Right.
We're not responsible for, someone. And I think that people take on a weight of responsibility for changing someone's mind.
Well, this is my thing.
Yeah.
My purpose when I sit
Yeah.
down is to listen. My purpose isn't
Listen.
to, and
Exactly.
the purpose is to actually persuade or change someone's
Yeah.
mind. That puts you in a different space. But if your
Right.
purpose is to seek first to understand, then you're not like, you're like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah.
I think the Democrats really need to sit down
Yeah.
and try to seek first to
Yeah.
understand before they jump to being understood. Thank you,
Maybe
Steve.
what you need to do is see if you can do a dialogue group with them and help give them some
No, they just need
to
to,
fill
going back
out.
to Kobe. The other thing too,
And
there's
listen.
there's just one thing because I heard, I think it was Condoleezza Rice said this in her classroom, and she said, I think she said, it just resonated. She said, "You have a right to be heard,
Mhm.
but you don't have a right not to get your feelings hurt."
That's right.
And
That's
so I think what happens
right.
is sometimes people shut down because they get their feelings hurt. And
Right.
so how do you show up for a conversation? Like, again, not, we don't, I'm curious as to what you, like, not everyone am I called to have a conversation with. Am I called, if I don't know that I'm called to, try to change everyone's mind. I think we can all as Americans though, say, hey, is this the kind of society that we want to continue and that we want to pass down to our kids, where we're almost living in two different countries? Like, is this really, are we really happy? I mean,
Right.
our Pursuit of Happiness project is going to crap. And I'm saying, as a Black woman, I get the racism, the sexism, all the isms. I mean,
Class.
it's for
All the
class.
isms.
Like, it is here, it is, but I also then think about my own family experience in it.
Mhm.
And our parents and grandparents and great grandparents faced all of that, but they did not lose their joy and their peace.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
just feel like we're living in a time, because we're fighting and we're doing all the things that we need to do to try to move the needle,
Mhm.
that arc more toward justice for all.
Mhm.
But I'm like, golly, are we just gonna lose our song? Are we gonna lose our joy? Are we gonna lose our, like, what is it gonna cost us our humanity?
Right.
Are we becoming so um brittle almost? Are we becoming brittle?
Mhm.
We're losing that malleability. Are we I mean, when I think of our grandmother who faced so much in her personal life, and then I'm sure as a Black woman, a domestic or a great education, but she never lost her joy, and she worked for white people all of her life as a domestic, and she did not seek to get her validation from them. She did not. I'm sure she faced racism and sexism. We know, you know, her own personal situation, and yet she still did not, they couldn't take her peace. And she was like, the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. It's like we have forgotten where our joy and our peace come from. And it's hard to stay engaged and show up in these kind of spaces when you're relying on the joy and the peace to come out of all of this stuff out here. That's why I say sit with yourself first.
Right.
Know your values, know what you believe. I would say for me, I don't know how anyone is doing life. And this is the part of the podcast where my kids will be like, oh Lord, here comes Jesus. Here he comes. I
Yeah.
don't know how anyone is living their life
Right.
without a faith system that
Mhm.
they are rooted in and trust. Mine is Jesus.
Yep.
But I see the same people who are rooted in their faith, whether they're in their Jewish faith or their Islamic faith, that there's a different kind of steadiness. I mean,
Yes.
Deepak Chopra was on MSNBC, just not as
Yes.
destabilized
Yes.
at all. And so this is what I'm saying. There's a river beneath the river that all of us can get grounded in
Mhm.
and drink from so that our leaves that are meant for healing don't just get brittle and fall
Right.
away.
Right. Yeah, and the church says amen to that. And I think like that's a good place to wrap this first episode up. And we do have to because Cherie and I can literally talk for hours.
So, so, yeah,
For hours. And we will, but this has been so good. This is our first episode. I'm so proud
it
and
is.
excited. I'm proud and excited. And we have homework. We have homework. So I've been listening and I've been writing because that's my role as little sister here, guys. So we have your picture of your stewed fowl chicken soup.
I hear it boiling, so I'm glad we're
Yeah.
starting. I'm hoping there's still water in
I
the pot.
will take a picture of my cheddar broccoli soup,
Okay, good.
my crumble cookie,
Mm-hmm.
and David Brooks'
Podcast. Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
Yes, yes. And Native Lands podcast.
Yes.
We do
Yes.
want to give a shout out and support
Mm-hmm.
people that we are listening to,
Mm-hmm.
our virtual family that don't know us by name, but we
Oh,
are connected.
we are connected and we are learning.
We
I
are
want to,
connected and we are learning.
yeah,
We are
yeah.
connected. We are learning. So be on the lookout for all those things. They will be in the show notes below. And we want to hear from you. What are your questions, your comments? How are you having these conversations with people? Are you having these conversations? We want to hear from you as well. And we both are, how should I describe us? We love knowledge, you guys. So honestly, if you have we want to know, what are you reading? What are you listening to? Please share it. We will read and listen. We would love that too, because we also want to expand our diet and what we're taking in. We want to expand with that. So is that? Am I missing anything?
Well, I did want to say, I know that we have said some things that might hit people a little raw.
Yeah.
And so I want to acknowledge that. So in the comments section, I
Okay.
want to say that I am prepared to
Yeah.
take my own advice, which is you have a right to be heard, but your
Yeah.
feelings don't have to. So I know our people, so we want you to engage, to challenge, to say
Yes.
the like to
Yes.
say, hey, I heard you saying this, sis. Did you mean it that
Right.
way?
Yes.
So
Yes.
if there's things that you question, things that you disagree with, other perspectives, this is going to be an ongoing dialogue.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Good. And it leads me to welcome to the sisterhood. And that's what this is. That's what we want to build. That's what we hope this space is. I was actually gonna like talk about that at the beginning of the podcast, but then we got, distracted by soup and stuff like that. So this was a nice leeway. We really do. Thank you, Cherie, for mentioning that. Want to create a safe place, a joy-filled space, an authentic space, where we're not going to be haughty and all dressed up, and you don't have to be either, because we want to just show up, and we want to be able to be real with you guys and real with ourselves and think through life. The life. So we do appreciate that. We want that. And we also understand that we are different people. We think differently. We have different experiences, and we're going to be challenged by the things that we say. But we do believe that we can do so in a way that's respectful and that's honoring and that expands us in good ways and doesn't reduce us. And so that's what we're about here. So thank you so much for tuning in. We hope to have an episode every week. That's what we're hoping for. So I'm going to figure out how to edit and put things together. And that's how I'm expanding in these new ways. So I'm learning a new thing. So so we hope for that. And again, send us your chicken soup recipe. What do you think? Yeah, she would actually, love that.
I'll try them.
Yes. Send us those things. If anyone has been to Cookie Crumble and has paid that almost $6 for a cookie, I don't know. Let us know, your favorite. But we want to be on this life journey with you all together. So we're excited. With all that, like us, subscribe. I'm going to try and remember to say that, because I know you need to say the things. But if we forget, please just do it. Y'all are better at it than probably we are. So like and hit the subscribe button, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Bye. This was fun. Thanks, Shawnee. Bye.